Hey there, everyone. This is Dr. Yam. I am the Keep It Simple coach for members of this Small Biz Society small Facebook group where we are DIY entrepreneurs, do it yourselfers who want to get it done right the first time and be successful in learning and leading to grow our small business. So, I am the host, and today we are going to continue on our learning journey when it comes to email marketing. So, for those of you who don't know who I am an entrepreneur I run a consulting firm. I've been doing so for the last 6 years. And in addition to running that, I also coach and support other entrepreneurs who are just starting out or who have the desire to do so and need a little help. And I like to keep it simple. And that's what you get from me each time you see me appear here in Facebook. So, what are we going to do? Today is Wisdom Wednesday. So it's always a good time to kind of dive in, dig into some information, learn from other people's mistakes, I like to say, so that you can benefit from them. So that's what Wisdom Wednesday will be for today. We are continuing our learning series on email marketing, particularly centered around a reset. Many of you may have been ignoring or maybe even a little afraid, have a little bit of anxiety when it comes to sending out an email campaign. So we're going to lessen that threshold. So over the last couple of days, that's what we've been working on. So if you are not a part of the Small Biz Society, please visit us here. Go to www.smallbizsociety.info. You will be able to join our private group. Simply answer 3 simple questions. You're in like Flynn, and then you'll be able to get access to video content such as this, as well as other events that I host and sponsor. Ask your questions here. Don't forget to let StreamYard allow me to see your comments, and then we'll be able to do so. If you are watching the recorded version of this, we still will take your questions. So do not hesitate to place your questions here in the comment space, and I will address each and every one of them, as well as you can also direct message me if you feel more consumed to do so. Okay? Now, with that said, we're going to continue on again, planning and sending that first email campaign. If you haven't already done so and you've been like, I don't know, or you could be that entrepreneur who sent one out, didn't feel too good about it, and have us like, maybe this is not for me, and I'm just going to keep doing this other stuff and kind of avoid the elephant in the room. Well, don't let email marketing be the elephant in the room. Let's learn how that we can take advantage of it. It's not something that may come natural to many of us. It didn't come natural to me, but I understand it so much better, and I understand the power that email marketing brings. Remember, this is all about content marketing, the low-hanging fruit, the things that you can do as a solopreneur, that DIY methodologies that you can do yourself. And if you need to, outsource it, but you need to know what you're doing. So today we're going to continue on. So yesterday, just as a quick recap, we really talked about the fact that there are not only a way to get things started is really have a plan. And in this case, we're talking about making yourself a goal. We went through some concrete steps about creating not any type of goal, but a smart goal. You want to set yourself up by understanding what are you trying to accomplish and why. And a SMART goal is going to allow you to do that. So watch yesterday's video, go into great detail with respect to that and helping you to figure out your strategy and setting your goal for your email campaign. So that's step 1 in the planning process. Set a goal. So today we are going to be looking at 2 things: calls to action and segmentation. And I'm going to give you 10 strategies on segmentation that you may want to consider. There's a couple that I've never tried that I'm really excited about giving a try that I probably should have been doing, but I haven't, because hey, I'm running my business like you are too. You can't do any and everything. And we're always learning. So that's the great thing, right? So we're going to look through that. And then we will take this on, and then we'll just come into the next day. So we're just going to keep it simple today. So yesterday was goal setting. Today, we're going to talk about some key components that you just need to be very mindful of. These are things to think about first. Notice that we're not into creating an email. That's not the worry right now, not the email. there are some precursors, some pieces and parts that you need to be forethinking, first before you dive into writing an email. And I think that's probably why many of us feel so awkward about doing this type of method, is that we may not see that you're doing things out of order. And then that's where the confusion kind of comes in. Set a goal, and then you have to ask the question. So let's focus next on a call to action. You may also hear the term CTA, that's what it stands for, but a call to action. So what we're talking about here in this particular case, I'm going to pull up my notes so you'll see that I'm always have my little notes ready for you guys. So once you set your goal of what you're wanting to accomplish, the next thing is you want to determine is, what is the call to action? So you start with answering the most important question. What do you want the subscriber on your list to do? And get the result that you want in the campaign. That's a part of the goal statement that you wrote yesterday. So the answer in this question is that you really want to clarify your objective. What is it that you want the person who receives the email to actually do when they get it? Or during the course of the sequence of emails, because it could be a sequence, not just one off. Okay. And then it's also going to help to move the series of emails along. So there might be a pattern of calls to action. So you might be thinking, well, what would a call to action look like? So there's certain types of calls to action that you'll use in your email, and each one is going to be a little different. So I want you to imagine that you are at a store like Bed Bath & Beyond, and you're seeing a sales ad, right? And in it, you're going to see a thing that might say coupon. It may say shop now when you're online, right? You're going to see these different action steps. So that is a call to action. What do you want the person to do? Your goal as a result of them receiving the one mail or a series of emails. Is it to look at an offer? Is it going to be to read more information? That's a call to action. Just say read more. It could be find a store. You may be having multiple stores and you're in multiple locations. And then first thing you want to make sure that they do, that they want to find this product, is find the store closest to you. If you have a chain of restaurants, or you may have different resources that are maybe spread out in a community, like you're doing some type of a rental or some type of a shared entity, something along those lines. Another call to action could be shop now, just that simple. Shop now, buy now, pay now, or shop and then the name of the product. So you may be looking for something. All of those are calls to action. Now, when you're making your call to action, you want to make it very clear, and it's typically going to be in the form of a button, right? It's going to be a link that's going to tie that person to take action by clicking on that button, and that button is what's going to allow the action to occur or take them someplace for them to continue on with a behavior that they're set to do as a result of having read the email. Now, not all call to actions, by the way, when we get into the actual email design, you'll see not all call to actions have to be at the very end. Sometimes it may be beneficial to even kind of stop them in their tracks midway and give them a call to action, because the critical information is up top. There's just additional information below. But if you get enough of what you really need to know and you know that's what you want to do, move on ahead. You don't have to wait till the end. So there's different ways in which you'll be able to position that call to action. But in most cases, it's a button. Now, the thing to also be mindful of, when we talk about the layouts and stuff, aesthetics, things that you may want to always down is you want your button to kind of stand out. You want it to be big. You want it to be a contrasting color. You may want the font to be bolder than the rest of the text. So there are different ways that you want this particular call to action to kind of stand out. Maybe there's also an image associated with it. So there's different things that you want to kind of keep in mind when you're setting up your calls to action. Let's check mine. There we go. Hey, how you guys doing? Put any questions if you have any. All righty. So calls to action is the next step in the planning. All righty. Now, what's the next step? The next part of our conversation, if you have any questions on other call to actions, we'll pair them up based on the content. So that's always going to be driven by whatever you're talking about. And again, what is it that you want the person at the end to be able to do? All right. Now, next thing we're going to talk about is segmentation. And I think it's best to know that we all have an understanding about what the heck is segmentation. Some people think of segmentation, and the only thing they think about is segmenting oranges or grapefruits and make them look cute when you're cutting up fruit. Well, it's a little bit like that, but not as tasty. How about that? So when we think about segmentation, it's email marketing lists that are basically just broken up into sublists. But the purpose around segmentation is that it helps you to improve your open rate and improve your click-through rates. Those are the things we talked about yesterday. So remember, your open rate is how often people out of a group or population are opening up what they sent you. The other one, remember, click-throughs was how many people are clicking inside of an email to take action, or it is in a link, which in this case could be that call to action button. Is that part of that click-through rate? So now you see why it's important for your buttons and your icons and the text and to give direction are very clearly defined. So segmentation, when you're segmenting a list, is helping to get your open rates up and your click-through rates up. So let's talk about that just a little bit. Let me check my notes. I don't want to leave you guys missing out on anything. So before we go into the segmentation, just as an example, when we talk about a call to action, so maybe you're a candle maker and you're selling candles, and maybe today's a special. You do these promotions, and you can say like buy two and get one free, right? The free is going to be big. You're going to tell them about the value. So what would be the action step for that? What do you want them to do? You want them to buy, or if it's online, you tell them to shop, right? You want to buy now, shop now, shop. Or if it's shop, then it's going to take you to it's going to take you to that section where they'll make a selection and then go on and move on towards the cart. So that's just another type of an example, okay? So when we think about choosing email segmentation, what we're talking about here is when you're collecting emails for any of the other offers that you've been putting out there, and I hope that many of you are already doing that. If you look in the video library, there's a video that I talk about lead magnets. And so the whole point of a lead magnet is to collect the email. So this is past the email collection. Now it's like, what are you doing with the people now that you got their email list? So this is where segmentation comes into play. But how you're collecting the email and the other information can play a role in email segmentation. So what I mean by that is when you're typically offering some type of a freebie, like a lead magnet, a PDF document, a video tutorial, maybe it's even registering for a webinar, any of those that are viable options, a book, ebook of sort, they're all opportunities to get the email and the name. While you're collecting that information, you may also have an opportunity to gain other insight on that person. When you're collecting that information from the contact list, then there's different ways that you'll be able to segment them. And I'm going to go through those 10 strategies with you in a minute. But a lot of times your group segmentations are basically characteristics of the individual, and it could be based on a couple of different things. And what you want to be able to do is take advantage of it so that when you're sending out that email, you're not always sending every email that you send to everybody. I hope you all know that. Just because, unless it's some very general one and you want to say, everybody have a, like an Oprah Winfrey statement, you get one and you get one. Unless it's intentional in that way, you really want to get into this habit of segmenting your groups. And so it's a couple different ways that you're going to segment your groups are going to be based on shopping behaviors or purchasing behaviors or reading behaviors. So for most of us, if you're doing some type of a purchase, be it a product or a service, then what you're speaking of, it could be that you're breaking them up by frequency of a buyer. It could be the way, people who are, cart abandons. They could be, are these seasonal shoppers. They only shop when there's a seasonal sale. Those are ways in which you can kind of chunk things down. So all you're doing is you may have a list of 1,000 people. And of that 1,000 people, how can you, chop them up into these different groups? And that's not to say that the same one person can be in multiple groups at the same time. They're just not segmented and separated permanently. You're kind of giving each one of these persons like if you would think of this as a grid, like a spreadsheet, and you had columns for each of the different types of categories of engagement with your list person, and then your customers are your rows. So Bob Johnson could have been a first time buyer in the season. He did 2 seasonal purchases, so he gets 2 checks, and he may have redeemed so many points on something. That might be a different type of a characteristic. So there's different ways that you'll be able to chop up your list. And the reason why you want to do that is because when we get to the writing part of emails, you want to be intentional around what you're writing and who you're writing it for. That goes back to the call to action. So you want to be very intentional about what you're writing and who you're writing it for and what type of action you want them to take. So let's look at some strategies. I gathered up a list for you guys. And this way, we're going to look at 10 strategies. I got this one actually from Neil Patel. So let's see what Neil has to offer. So these are 10 strategies that are pretty quick and easy marketing segmentations that you can put into practice right away. You may have tried these already. If not, that's okay. But write these down. I'll go through them a little slow so you can make marks of it. But again, marketing and knowing who you're emailing to is going to be really important. And what I've learned is when you're doing segmentations, then you're writing to that smaller group of people for a specific reason, and they are more likely to open it, and then they're more likely to take action, which is what you want. Because if you send an email to everybody, but it's not really meant for everybody, number one, everybody's not going to open it. And that's going to break your click rates that will come down. And then that's going to make it harder for you to make the conversions that you're looking to do. Because at the end of the day, you want to speak to a specific group of people that have a higher likelihood to take action in making a purchase or to commit to something, whatever the purpose is. So in fact, I want to say, he says that when you're segmenting your list, you get almost 15% more higher open rate when you segment your list. And you can have as much as a 65% more click-throughs when you're doing segmentation than just doing a broad base. So that if that doesn't incentivize you to try segmenting rather than just sending everybody who's on the list the same emails all the time, then you're missing the boat and an opportunity to bump up your data. And that's also going to help you to reach your numbers. Because remember, the whole point when we start with step 1 was goal setting. So this is your strategy to help you to reach the goal for your email campaign that you're trying to establish. Okay? All right. Now, let's look at step 1. So one way of segmenting could be demographics. So you could, again, depending on how you're collecting information, you might be able to do it in a way of a format. So, and how you got the information to begin with. So information such as age or gender or company position or income levels can tell a lot about, what a person's needs and their interests are, right? So you have that as an opportunity. So the more information you can get from your audience when they sign in or sign up for something, then the more options you have to do that demographic type of segmentation. So, but of course, you want to be mindful of personal information and not asking for too much. So only do it when you know it's benefit to you and it's within the guidelines. So we want to stay clean and nice. Okay. So that's one thing. Let's see. So if you feel as though, depending on your product or your service, that those demographics play a role in how you feel people will take action to purchasing and engaging with you in some way, then you want to be sure to ask that question. Usually it's in the form of a survey like, are you between these age groups? If you're a very gender net centric type of a product or service, then you may be able to ask other types of questions. Or again, think be mindful of the types of demographic types of questions that you may want to ask people. Particularly my people who are local vendors, location might be, wanting to make sure, like when they come in, or if you're collecting emails that way, that how far are they coming to get to where you are, those types of things. Another way of doing segmentations is when you're facilitating surveys or quiz results. That's another way to say, okay, 100 people took my quiz, and as a result of those people who took my quiz, 47% of them got a score of X. So that means they fall into this range of either knowledge or interest. And then that's going to help form my thinking about what type of an offer should I really be putting out there if the total number of people who, one, liked what I was offering them, and that's why they gave me their email, or they were interested enough in the quiz type that I see that there's a need that they have, or there's a strong interest in something. So you want to be able to optimize that information. And that's what a quiz or a survey can help you to do at the same time. So you want to be able to say that that's another checkbox or another column that that person's going to fall under, that they came in under that particular delivery mechanism of a result from a quiz or a survey, and that the results put them in a particular category. So you can segment out the 47% of that group of people in that result and offer them something very specific to what their interests are. Make sense? Okay. Another one, of course, is email engagement. So here again, when you're sending out your emails and you're going to have these links inside of an email, there is an opportunity. Some of your email automation systems have what we call hot maps. And what a hot map is anytime you have links embedded inside of your email, and anytime somebody clicks on something on the email, it's keeping track of it. So not only are they opening the email, but the level of engagement in the email. How many people are clicking on this link in the same email versus another link? That also is a telltale sign. If 22% of people clicked on one link versus another, then you can segment out the people who just that 22% of those people who clicked on that link, and send them something very specific. There's a reason why they clicked on that link versus something else. So again, when you're writing your emails, you want to be strategic about what you're putting in the email and the types of behaviors you're setting people up to do when you're designing out and putting those hyperlinks inside of an email. But you're able to use that same data in order for you to further segment a group of people. So that's another reason. So email engagement will help you to do that. Another one that you can do too with email segmentation when it comes to behaviors is that you can determine active or inactive users. That's another way of chunking down the group. So those who don't open your email, like we talked about your open rate, the people who haven't opened in 3 months, that's a segment. So people, if there's a group of people on your list that haven't opened any emails that you've sent to them in the last 3 months, that's a segmentation. You may want to send an email to say, hey, haven't heard from you for a while, I haven't seen you respond to anything, are you still interested? And then that's a way of kind of cleaning your list. We'll talk about dirty mail later. Another strategy to think about is geographic area. Could be another way of segmenting. So again, your location data makes your segmentation a very valuable tool because again, depending on your business and where you're located or the type of time of year and things and where people are located could play a part in it. Let's see. because it's also going to help when it comes to the language that you're using in your email copy or even in a social media ad for that matter. So you have maybe certain locations, though there may be an opportunity for you to use geographic data to help with your segmentation and the types of coupons that you put together. That may also hold true. So even if your list is made up of people from across the country, you may want to say, today is California Day. So all my California people are going to get an email, and that email is intended just for them. So there's different ways that you can get really creative at the same time and be intentional, and people can feel special. So think about geographics as another way. Another segment that you can also consider are past purchases. So many of us have already probably experienced this when we've been in a store and they always will ask, would you like to be on our list and give us your email address or your phone number, and you can get the next coupon that comes out or get an alert. That too. So they'll know by giving you their email address, your email address to them, and they're going to associate that email address or your cell phone number for text messaging. They're going to attach your receipt information now to your email. So they now have a record that says, oh, well, she bought scented candles, and he bought the knee-high socks, whatever. So past purchases can be another way of segmenting your list. For instance, another one that's always good. So things that you know that require a replacement or a refill or a renewal. So if a person bought something today and you know that it's a consumable of sort, then a past purchase will say then you'll probably need to get that refill in a couple of weeks. So then you would trigger and already have in place with your email campaign a automation that's going to trigger an automatic email to that person like in 3 months. So I'll keep it real simple. You know you have to replace your air conditioning filter every month. You do know that, right? So if Home Depot is my place that I go to get my filter and they have it on record and I bought an air filter, and now they'll know if I put one in today, then I get a reminder probably in the next 20 to 25 days, say it's time to get a replacement air filter. Come on down and here's a coupon. So past purchases can be another way for you to segment your list. Another way of looking at segmenting your list is how much money people spend. Because depending on who your target audience is and what your products and your services are, if you're seeing a pattern on the buying behaviors, that there are certain people who are buying high ticket items versus people who are buying low dollar items, then there's no point in you sending a person that you know has only been buying the low ticket items in your catalog a coupon or something, or incentivize them to buy something that's a large ticket item. They're probably not interested. That's not the shopping behavior. So that way when you're going to offer a big ticket item, only send it to the people that are more likely to buy it. They're more likely to say, ooh, it's on sale. I'm going to open that email. Does that make sense? So that's just another strategy about thinking about how do I look at my readers' behaviors and the buying behaviors of my customers, and how is it that I can take advantage of that? Okay, we're almost finished here. Now, another way of looking at it, we've talked about sales funnels in the past. And so if you're new to the group and you haven't already done so, I think this still might be in the library, but just type inside of the group in the search, type in sales funnel, and you'll see a video on sales funnels and the basics of that. So one of the things you can also segment is how the person in your list is positioned in the part of the sales funnel. Are they at the top of the funnel based on how they know the entry date and how they came in, if it's a part of a full-on campaign? And if so, like who's at the top, who's in the middle, and who's at the end? You know the person's at the end because they are in the abandoned cart. They left stuff before. So those people who are in the abandoned cart, they're at the bottom of the funnel. People who haven't done anything but get the lead magnet, They're still at the top of funnel because they haven't taken any action past getting the download and you haven't converted their behavior yet. But there's another way of chunking that information and being able to determine it by the position that they're in as a part of the sales funnel process. That's another way of chopping up your group and emailing to the different levels. The person who is at the bottom of the funnel, I'm going to talk to them way differently than the person who's just got my lead magnet. So there's lots of different ways that you can skin your cats. Then, of course, another opportunity that you can look at, this is a little bit more sophisticated because it requires you to have some other things kind of set up in the back, but I do want you to be aware of it. And that's website behavior. And you're saying, but I thought we were talking about email. Well, yeah, you are. But remember, part of building out an email content in that click-through is the fact that you're tracking the website behavior through your emails when a person visits. So that's another way of looking at it. If you sent them an email that was a targeted email based on you going to a specific page on your website or maybe a blog, right? You want to be able to know not only did they click through on the link to go to your website because you want to drive traffic to your website, but not only that, but what did they do when they got to that page that you sent them to go visit and check out more information? And what does that behavior look like? So there are plugins, we call it, but little mini apps that are able to track the behaviors of people when they come to your site. How much time did they spend at the top? How long before they scroll down? How long before they left the page? Lots of bits of insight. It does require some time and effort in setting that up and configuring that. If that's something either you're going to do or you're going to have a virtual assistant or one of your tech people to manage and help you to get that set up. But website behaviors is another way of segmenting your group that you may want to consider. And then the times that they've last made a purchase. That's going to be another way of segmenting your group. Again, buying behaviors. So if the last time that they purchased something is going to say, okay, well, those who purchased 3 months ago and they haven't done anything, you might want to run a sale. The same like people who bought in January, I'm running an August sale for those who purchased in January. So be creative, but it's just a way that you can segment and chop up your group and be able to speak to them in a clarified way. So there could be your frequent buyers and there could be your one-time customers. Your one-time customers meaning that, again, if they only bought one thing all year and it's an end of the year sale, then you might want to speak to your one-time customers way differently than the ones that are your frequent buyers who buy every time you put on a sale, they're going to buy something. So there's a different way you're going to chop those up and how you're going to speak to that group. So there may be even if it's just one sentence, you'll be surprised. The way that the email systems are set up, they're set up in such a way they got very sophisticated. You can even send out different email content inside of everybody's going to get the same body email, but maybe one sentence is different. And that one sentence is only going to be seen by the frequent buyers, and a different sentence is going to be seen by the one-time buyers. So the email automation application systems like the MailerLites and the like are getting really sophisticated, which makes you look good and feel good about working smarter and not harder. And last but not least, personal interest could just be another way that you can segment your group. And that one is just simple. Again, based on how many times you're either asking a particular question, maybe they did some type of a survey, and that you can follow up with them after they've already gotten on your list. And you want to say, we want to be able to customize your experience. So check off all the things that you like or don't like. Again, whatever is relevant to your industry or relevant to the products and services that you do. And that's going to help you to customize the needs of your mailing list. So those are just some strategies that you can utilize for segmenting your group. Hope you found that to be really, really helpful. And again, we want to continue on with our learning on how to plan and send that first email campaign. So this was actually steps 2 and 3. 2 and 3 steps were covered today. And yesterday we covered step 1 in creating a goal. So check us out tomorrow. We're going to continue on with our learning properties. Let me see. I think I can give you a little bit of a sneak peek. What are we going to talk about tomorrow? The email template. That's going to be fun. And I'm going to have a freebie for you, so we're going to be able to help you out. So join me tomorrow. We'll have another learning experience. And until then, this is Dr. Yam. I'm your Keep It Simple coach for the Small Biz Society and Jumpstart Your Small Biz. Let's get busy. Take care. Bye-bye.